Well, I said I'd come back if they ruined the Legion, and here I am. I truly cannot understand how you could possibly call yourself a Fallout fan anymore. I think they've ruined every single cool aspect of the franchise. It has been flanderized beyond belief. This is straight up parody tier. I know there's plenty of people who say that Fallout has been dead since the release of Fallout 4 10 years ago, and I'm inclined to agree, truly, but for me, this is the final nail in the coffin. They cannot possibly come back from this unless they say the show is non-canon. But Bethesda's never gonna do that, let's be honest. They want Fallout to be a goofy parody series. They want Fallout to be about the horrors of late-stage capitalism instead of the reality of human nature and how it leads us to eternal conflict. But to get back to the point, I don't see how you could possibly still like Fallout at this point. I mean, what is even cool about the series? They ruined every single major faction. The NCR is dead. The Brotherhood of Steel are apparently comprised of a bunch of man-children who are LARPing as knights. The whole preserving pre-war technology angle, yeah, that's completely gone. It's turned into a joke. And they've also taken the Enclave's place as the totalitarian fascist faction despite claiming they want to protect the wasteland or whatever. The only thing this show is missing is to have someone say, make the wasteland great again. That's how transparent this fucking allegory is. Oh, and apparently they just dominate the entire United States and have multiple battle zeppelins and can casually just fly across the entire country. The leftist Hollywood Goldstein writers have written yet another incredibly powerful and evil yet hilariously incompetent faction. So stupid that it makes you wonder how the hell they became such a powerful force in the first place, but of course you're never supposed to question that. And of course, finally, the Legion. We all knew they were gonna fuck them up. I'm not the least bit surprised by this, but this is just embarrassing. I know that the Fallout show is just a series of member berries, like I said in my last video, to appeal to the new fans, aka people who never even played the games that are being referenced, but they probably watched a fucking Oxhorn video or something and think they're an expert. And I don't want to completely spoil what happens in episode 3, but it is so fundamentally stupid that it's absolutely infuriating. It makes Fallout New Vegas seem like a joke game. How the hell was this faction ever a threat to anyone when they act like a bunch of live-action role players playing King of the Hill? They have a civil war, and the two camps are right next to each other. And there's only like 30 of them left, which I know you could say, okay, the Legion fell apart after New Vegas because Caesar died, sure, whatever. But this is so ridiculous, I don't think I even need to point out what's dumb about it. You can just see what's happening on the screen. But I know I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm spoiling the juicy bits that we're going to get to in the breakdown. But yeah, I'll just say again, I do think Fallout is dead and will never come back. There is no fucking way that it will ever be a respectable franchise after this. Now to get into the breakdown, I'll cover both episodes 2 and 3 because there are some significant plot advancements in episode 2 that you'll need to know for episode 3, and we also get to see how Shady Sands got nuked, which is, well, it's about as bad as you'd expect, and that's actually how the episode begins. As you'll probably remember from season 1, the writers of the show retconned it so Shady Sands is now located where the Boneyard is supposed to be, the ruins of LA. Why? Because fuck you, that's why. Normies don't care. Why would they care about the lore other than what their favorite YouTuber told them to care about? Anyway, I want to nitpick something already that I'm sure most people wouldn't care about, but notice how the culture of the NCR looks to be so similar to the pre-war, which I guess shouldn't surprise me given Bethesda always hit really hard on the retro future 50s aesthetic. But then immediately after this, we see who I assume to be Maximus's dad getting groundwater and being impressed that there's no radiation in the ground. Do I have to remind the writers this is well over 200 years after the war? The new California Republic is supposed to be an entire nation of people. It's not just one town. They have control of all of California, which is its own set of plot holes because just nuking Shady Sands alone destroyed the NCR, as it's implied about 1 million times in the show. But I'll keep the nitpicks to a minimum for now, because there's a much, much bigger problem. Apparently, Lucy's dad put one of those mind control chips on the back of the neck of a random caravan merchant. And of course, there's a cheeky little reference to New Vegas, guys. Mimby?
Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.
And then this motherfucker, after marching presumably miles across the desert, just strolls into the middle of Shady Sands with a fucking nuke in his cart. No NCR troops stopped him to see what was in the cart. No raiders attacked him on the way here. Nope. He just strolled in the middle of town with a nuke. Can you fucking imagine if someone just casually drove into Washington, D.C. with a nuke in their trunk? That is what just happened here. This is how I know the fans of this are idiots or bots. I'm not even convinced they're real people. Dead internet theory is real. Very, very real. There is no way a human being with critical thinking skills watched this and thought this was cool or entertaining or fun or interesting in any way. No, this is plain stupidity, which I guess is fine because Fallout is Borderlands now. It's just a dumb cartoon, man. It's satire. It's over, is what it is. In fact, it never fucking began. Oh, and of course it gets even worse. Of course, Maximus's dad was there to save the day. The white people all ran in fear, pathetic and weak, but the heroic black man will show us how it's done. But even though he successfully diffuses the nuke, it had a failsafe, so it's gonna blow up anyway. He shoves his son into a fridge. Yes, they are unironically doing the refrigerator thing. Many of you will remember that in Fallout New Vegas, there's a Wild Wasteland event where you find Indiana Jones' skeleton in a fridge, making fun of the fourth movie. And the showrunners just did it unironically. Well, you know, I guess you do survive in a fridge in the Fallout universe, but even then, it was a ghoul in that fridge. And Maximus just turned out fine in the middle of a nuclear explosion. You gotta be fucking kidding. Now, I'm going to break down the rest of this episode into the two subplots, just so that I don't have to go scene by scene. Not that much actually happens anyway. For Maximus' side of the plot, the first scene involves him gunning down a bunch of feral ghouls with other Brotherhood buddies of his, and this scene's actually okay. This is probably the only time this show has felt like Fallout this season, you know, exploring old abandoned buildings, gunning down abominations. The Fallout 4 assault rifle still looks stupid as hell, but again, at least it's a somewhat entertaining scene for how short it is. The only problem I have is that the show has already established that ghouls are really hard to kill, but I guess that was a lie and it's only the ghoul who has plot armor, because the ferals go down in like 3 shots. Maximus retrieves whatever technology they came for, and he speaks with Elder Cleric Quintus, which the only reason I even knew the guy's name is because I paused the video and Amazon tells you the name of the characters and scenes. How convenient. Because there's no way you'd know otherwise. There's no way a single motherfucker watching this show knew the name of this Elder. Anyway, the point is, it turns out that the device is a key to unlock Area 51. And it's like, oh shit, that's actually kind of interesting. Maybe they'll do something interesting with it. I don't even know why I'm building this up. Obviously not. It just turns into yet another joke. A major plot point of this season is that the Brotherhood of Steel is having a civil war all the way across the country for some reason. I'll get into this a bit later, but you won't be surprised to hear that this conflict doesn't really make sense. We see a couple Brotherhood members discover an ice box that has an alien inside it. And honestly, I don't need to say anything. Just watch the scene.
Holy shit. A real fucking icebox.
Yeah, wasn't that funny? Yeah, that was awesome. We also see 2 Brotherhood Knights playing around with a plasma grenade. Isn't that funny? Oh, and they blow up a classic car with a minigun outside. This serves no purpose in the episode except to make the Brotherhood look like idiots. Why the hell would Bethesda approve of letting the Brotherhood of Steel look so incompetent? They're the face of the franchise. Bethesda are the ones who made them the face of the franchise at that. I know you could be pedantic and say it's really about the power armor, not specifically the faction that wears it, but every single one of their games has featured Brotherhood power armor on the cover. They are the face of the franchise, and yet the TV show makes them as incompetent and even evil as possible. What team am I even supposed to root for at this point? I guess you could say Maximus is one of the good ones. Ha, this is reminding me a lot of Outer Worlds 2, where every single faction is either incompetent or evil, so I guess I'm just rooting for myself. But to stop myself before going on another tangent, a little bit later we see a meeting between all the major Brotherhood chapters except the Commonwealth, which isn't there, because Quintus has gathered them all to unite in a civil war against the Commonwealth because they don't want to share the relic, which is the cold fusion device that they secured at the end of the first season. Now, I have several problems with this scene. First of all, there's a woman in charge of one of the chapters, a fucking fat Pacific Islander bitch who thinks she's a badass. One of the other leaders is actually based as fuck.
Where we come from, women don't get to talk.
That was probably the only time I've laughed watching the show, by the way. My second problem is, if the Brotherhood of Steel chapters can just casually unite in their giant battle zeppelins, why the hell have they not taken over the wasteland and established society? Why is there no New California Republic equivalent for the Brotherhood of Steel? There's no reason for them to live in bunkers underground if they have massive armies. And they don't even care about preserving technology anymore, as they repeat several times in the show. Their goal is to protect and restore the wasteland, make it great again. Yeah, again, pretty obvious what they're going for here. But I guess Orange Man bad, he's an incompetent fascist dictator or something. So the Brotherhood has to be incredibly powerful, but also not a threat to anyone or accomplish anything ever. They'll destroy themselves from within, just like the right... Oh, wait a minute. The saying is the left eats itself. It's a purity spiral. This is just more projection from Mr. Goldberg. Well, let me remind you that the people that you're writing for want to destroy Tel Aviv, which canonically Tel Aviv got nuked in the Fallout universe. Is it any wonder why these Hollywood writers want to destroy the franchise so thoroughly? You can consider that another conspiracy theory, I guess. So, as you would expect, the Elders agree to team up against the Commonwealth, and if you didn't think that the Brotherhood of Steel was ruined enough, they start beating the shit out of each other in like a Fight Club style situation. And just out of nowhere, this jacked, huge white guy challenges Maximus. Now, of course, you know there's going to be idiots who are just going to say, oh, it's a coincidence that the white guy wanted to kill the black guy. No, this is yet another anti-white racism message. Just peak bizarro world bullshit. Don't look at any crime statistics. Oh, and of course, the white guy, despite being bigger and stronger and more skilled and better in every perceivable way, has to pull a knife. And Maximus still manages to defeat him and kill him. I'm sure normies like Moist Critical are just fucking clapping their hands like a brain-dead seal watching this shit. Truly pathetic, and the Brotherhood of Steel plotline ends with the representative from the Commonwealth showing up, and it's Kumail Nanjiani. Yes, an Indian man is representing the Commonwealth Brotherhood chapter. I guess Arthur Maxon was just way too fucking based for this gay-ass show. As for Lucy and the Ghoul's questline, not nearly as much happened here. Lucy is trying to lecture the Ghoul on the Golden Rule. Treat others as you'd like to be treated. As another iconic New Vegas song plays in the background, this one fits a lot better than Big Iron did for the last episode, so I did kind of like that reference at least. And for some reason, she tells the Ghoul all about Christmas Carol. As if he wouldn't already know the fucking story. Are you kidding me? Anyway, whatever. So they hear a cry for help from a nearby abandoned building. Lucy has to check it out because she's learned nothing from the first season. She's a Mary Sue, had no character development whatsoever. She would not last 5 fucking minutes out in this wasteland, but whatever. They find a Legion slave and some other guy who isn't wearing Legion gear. Maybe he's another slave. Do they keep male slaves now? Was this a gay joke? I don't know. In any case, the Ghoul slits the guy's throat and eats some of his flesh, as you do. But the flesh has been poisoned by rad scorpion venom. And so rad scorpions come out of the vents in the ceiling? These are fucking scorpions. Do scorpions hide in the ceiling now in the apocalypse? Sure, whatever. And then a giant rad scorpion bursts out from another room. We get kind of a stupid scene where a grizzled badass who's survived over 200 years almost gets killed by a generic giant rad scorpion. I mean, seriously? At the very least, the Ghoul does do something incredibly based by using the slave woman as a human shield though he still ends up getting stung anyway in the leg by the rad scorpion stinger. But Lucy, being an idiot, uses their last stim pack to save her, and she leaves the ghoul to die because she just assumes he'll be fine. And they split up from here. What? Listen, I know he was a massive asshole, arguably evil in the first season, but it's clear that he's her best chance for survival, but she'd rather travel around with a fucking slave who, of course, indirectly betrays her by leading her directly to the Legion camp. And, of course, she gets captured, and that's where the episode ends. But before I move on to episode 3, I will briefly cover what happens in the vault. It's not really that important. As we saw in the last episode, Lucy's brother has unfrozen all of the future Vault-Tec employees, and he pretends to be their manager and tells them to all escape to the surface. Conveniently, there is a comically massive vent that leads to the surface from the vault. You know, there's no way any radiation would end up getting through there and killing everyone inside. No. Lucy's brother and all the Vault-Tec employees escape, and they're on the surface, and I guess they're gonna colonize the wasteland or somehow find their way to Lucy's dad. I don't know. Who cares? I think it goes without saying, but this episode sucked ass. There is no way that the Brotherhood of Steel can come back from this. They are a clown faction now. Again, why would you even care about Fallout after this? They ruined everything cool about the setting. It is just Borderlands, and Borderlands is lame as fuck and always has been. Okay, moving on to episode 3, the point of no return for this series. The episode begins with an incredibly ridiculous scene that serves absolutely no purpose except a fake moral quandary near the end of the episode. We see the former Brotherhood of Steel initiate from the first season who has become ghoulified. I remember this being foreshadowed in the first season, but I'll be honest, I can't even remember why he's becoming a ghoul. Either way, what's ridiculous about this scene is he has somehow enslaved a bunch of children. Yeah, he just casually has child labor in this Sunset Sarsaparilla bottling plant. I have so many questions, and none of them will be answered because, again, Fallout is a joke now. This is supposed to be funny that he has child slaves. Where the hell are their parents? Where did these kids come from? Now, something at first glance you might think is clever is that he doesn't actually care about the Sunset Sarsaparilla. He's just collecting caps. He's basically printing money, which obviously is going to lead to inflation, but given that the only major civilization in the region has been wiped out of existence, I guess that's the least of his concerns. But my question is, where the hell are the materials coming from to manufacture these bottles in the first place? Why even bother making Sunset Sarsaparilla to begin with? Can't you just have the part of the assembly line that makes the bottle caps function and just forget about the rest? I guess you could say it's clever that he is feeding the children Sunset Sarsaparilla instead of giving them water, right? So it's sustaining itself. This is just so goofy. I don't think it's really worth going into the logistics of it, but it's just kind of a baffling situation that we're forced to accept. And we're also supposed to believe this was just an abandoned building in the middle of nowhere that he just happened to find. There were no raiders here or anything, and he had the technical know-how to fix it from his time in the Brotherhood of Steel, I guess. Oh, and he somehow also hacked a Securitron to help him defend the place on top of that, as you'll see later in the episode. I guess you could consider it dark humor that a couple of the children are ghouls too, but this is just treated like a joke, and we see a black girl who I'm sure was picked at complete random, who says she was bullied by a white girl. Said girl called her a mean name. Now, of course, being the chud that I am, I thought she meant but no, sadly, she just called her a ghoul, because ghouls are ugly, which actually, you know what? That's not a bad insult for the post-apocalypse. I'll accept that one. But for absolutely no reason at all, we once again have a racist white character in the Fallout TV show. Do you think idiots are noticing yet? Probably not. The scene ends with yet another unfunny joke.
What do we always say? Most kids are dead by this age.
Now for the next scene, it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. The Fallout TV show's take on the Legion. Oh boy, are you ready for another humiliation ritual? I know I am. So Lucy is led through their camp with the slave woman who I'm sure someone's gonna claim didn't betray her intentionally. Something you're gonna notice is all of the Legion members are white except for their leaders. And yes, leaders plural. I'll get into that in a second. Though I'm sure there'll be some disingenuous Redditor who pretends this giant schnozzy and swarthy motherfucker is Caucasian, but no. The second thing is we see a man who appears to be Legate Linnaeus, or at least is wearing his helmet, and it turns out to be Macaulay Culkin. Yes, Macaulay Culkin slits the slave girl's neck, and it's so obvious this is meant to be funny. Oh my god, the Home Alone kid just killed that bitch and is an evil alt-right incel chud? Yeah, that's so fucking funny. I'm laughing so hard right now. And yes, I'm aware he's not actually Linnaeus. Amazon even tells you the character's name, though I don't think they do in the show at any point. And the third, and probably the worst thing, happens when Lucy is brought before this Caesar, and she just immediately starts Reddit woman-splaining to these people their Roman culture. And she's wrong, by the way.
Hi, sir.
How dare you address the great Caesar?
Caesar? Do you mean Caesar? I believe Caesars were German, and you guys have more of a Roman theme, so I think it's Caesar.
We're negotiating the rights to your prima noctis.
Prima noctis? Okay. First of all, shame on you. That is awful. And secondly, prima noctis isn't even a Roman tradition. It's from the Middle Ages. They were just nasty people borrowing a Latin phrase. And as much as I want to respect your traditions, there is a line to all that, which I think we have found. And you should know that I am not even a virgin. And that's not including all of the cousin stuff I did, which is at least a page or two on my resume. So, looks like we're out of options.
So first of all, the original Latin pronunciation is Caesar, not Caesar or Kaiser, you Dunning-Kruger retarded-ass script writers. You are so fucking smug when you don't even know what you're talking about. And second, just because prima noctis isn't Roman doesn't mean they're not going to try to take your virginity. What sense does that even make? And third of all, easily the most important, this is so utterly immersion-breaking and just destroys the tension completely. This is the worst millennial writing I have seen in any TV show, probably. These people just slit a woman's throat for not being with her handler, yet they just let a woman shit talk to them about their own culture and they don't immediately decapitate her. No, this is treated like a fucking joke. And oh, they tie her to a cross though, dude, as she slowly starves to death or something. No, they would not tolerate this. And dude, I gotta play another clip from this conversation between Lucy and Macaulay Culkin. It's so fucking bad, man. I don't have to say anything.
Wait, excuse me. This isn't Rome, okay? This is America.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. At least according to all the maps.
Maps drawn by the dead. All that remains of America is the overwhelming evidence of its failure. Now, if you excuse me, we have a war to win.
You know, speaking as someone who's seen upwards of 15 different movies, if you think everyone else is the bad guy, chances are you're the bad guy.
This is just cartoon shit. It's so fucking over. But if you thought that was bad, it gets much worse. So apparently the Legion is having their own civil war because the writers only had one idea for a plot line or something. I guess you could be disingenuous and say the theme of this season is infighting or something because they didn't have enough woman leaders, clearly. But what makes this much worse than the Brotherhood of Steel one is that the two factions of the Legion are tied to each other. The camps are connected, and they're fighting over the corpse of Caesar, who is in between the camps. And of course, he conveniently has a note on his body who the next Caesar is supposed to be, but neither Splinter faction will let the other look at the notes, of course. Dude, this is so unbelievably awful. There is no way a real Fallout fan, a single real one who cares about the series, watch this and is okay with it. There's no way. I'm so tired of these grifter YouTuber pieces of shit who only care about ad revenue and their own irrelevance in the algorithm. They're scared of their own goddamn fans who won't give their real opinion. You cannot tell me any of the Fallout lore YouTubers are okay with this. They're not. If they told you they are, they're fucking lying. I don't have to review the rest of the episode. After you watch this, you're just like, oh, okay, nothing fucking matters. This is cartoon shit. It's a glorified theme park to give you a series of member berries, you know, to just drip that little, like, dopamine into your brain. Oh, I remember that. I guess I'll keep watching. As they're openly mocking you, you fucking worthless cattle. Okay, I think I'm probably just gonna speed through the rest of my explanation of this because, trust me, you saw everything that was worth seeing at this point. To finish up the whole Legion subplot, the ghoul monologues to Dogmeat about nothing that matters while cutting out the poison part of his flesh. He then decides to rescue Lucy anyway for no conceivable reason, really. He tries to get backup from the NCR, and this is yet another insult to New Vegas fans, as what's left of their forces in the Mojave is 2 fucking boomers who have just been chilling there for 20 years. You know, have the writers ever heard of this thing called a radio? You do realize that these camps have contact with each other, and there's like supply lines to Shady Sands. You don't think it's weird that 2 people would just chill in a camp and not talk to anyone from the NCR at all? They don't realize Shady Sands got nuked or that the nation collapsed or any of that? No, it's just more funny, haha, stupid shit. Also, one of the 2 people's a black woman, by the way. I'm sure that's coincidence. There's also a cameo from Victor in this episode. This is just straight up a member berry. It serves no purpose at all. Victor wouldn't even still exist. He served his purpose. He led the courier to Mr. House. That was the entire point of that persona. There's no reason the Securitron bot would even still have the Victor personality. But whatever, I'm reading into this too much as usual. We both know that nobody involved in this show gave a single fuck. So the ghoul shows up to the Legion camp. He offers them information in exchange for Lucy. Oh yeah, and the ghoul just talks shit to the Legion as well, to their faces. No consequences. Rightfully, Macaulay Culkin just says, why don't we just tie you to a cross and effectively torture you till we get the information out of you? And the ghoul just says, yeah, you could do that, or I could tell you the location of the last holdouts of the NCR. Wait a minute, how does that change anything? Why don't they just tie him to a cross anyway? There is no reason for them to give him Lucy. Oh, but of course, they just hand over Lucy anyway. And this is where the few flashback scenes tie into the present timeline, as the entire purpose of those scenes, other than building up the failed assassination of Mr. House, is explaining how the ghoul got his lighter. Oh boy, well, how exciting. Now, you could say the purpose of these scenes is to show how far Cooper has fallen since the apocalypse. He used to be a war veteran, and he prioritized others over himself, and so he has to make a grand moral choice to pick a side, just like he did back in the war. And so he uses the lighter he was gifted by his war buddy to inconspicuously light a pile of explosives in the Legion camp. And just nobody notices this because the Legion is too busy preparing to extinguish the 2 people left of the NCR forces. And so as Lucy and the ghoul exit the camp, the dynamite explodes, and I guess the Legion must have assumed the other Splinter faction detonated the explosives, so they go to war with each other, and that's the end of the Legion. I mean, I guess you could say maybe there's other forces somewhere, but I'm assuming this is meant to represent the last few remnants being wiped out. So yet another faction from New Vegas is dead. I hate this fucking show. I truly, truly hate it. What an embarrassment. It is somehow worse than I could have possibly imagined. I actually would have preferred if they had just turned the Legion into making fun of alt-right chuds or something, because at least then I could have ironically rooted for them. But no, it has to be more clown shit, of course. Lucy has more plot armor than any character ever should in the world of Fallout, to the point where there's absolutely no reason to care about what's happening on screen. I mean, why would you? Why even watch this? Unless you're a masochist like me, apparently, or at least making it for YouTube content. Then back to Maximus, they need to humiliate the Brotherhood of Steel even more. So basically, Elder Quinton doesn't listen to Maximus wanting to kill the Commonwealth people. And so, Maximus decides to hang out with the Pajit Paladin, his literal enemy to go have some fun in power armor, and they find a random ass Securitron in the middle of nowhere where there's a really goofy action scene that's dumb as hell, and it turns out the area that they're attacking is the child slave labor factory from the beginning. And of course, since the Brotherhood of Steel hates ghouls, Rajesh wants to just gun down these children. I guess this is meant to represent the incredibly complex moral choices you can make in Bethesda games. Of course, Maximus decides to defend his former friend and just straight up crushes the Indian skull with the fucking super sledge, even through the power armor in just one hit. And that's pretty much it for episode 3, guys. Holy hell. It's time to just let it go, guys. I know many of you did so 10 years ago, but for those of us last few holdouts who still call ourselves fans of Fallout, no, it's never coming back from this. I'm serious. This is so horrible, so embarrassing. Anyone who likes this show is a certified retard, perfect for the upcoming Idiocracy. Am I supposed to feel bad that people are poor and being oppressed by the elites, by the government, all this, when they praise this show? You have proven the elites, whoever they may be, correct, that you are cattle. You are not truly human. You don't have a soul. They do deserve to have 10,000 of you as slaves because you ate up this dog shit. You ruined a franchise that people loved because you just couldn't stop consuming the goy slop. I will say this, it does seem like a lot fewer people care about Fallout Season 2 than Season 1, but it was truly pathetic how many people, or bots, who the hell knows, defended the first season. So, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter if this season has fewer viewers. I'm sure the corpse of Fallout will be milked forever because it's a huge brand name, but it will never be good again. Like I said last time, I'm not going to review this episode by episode. I will only make one more review covering the rest of the season because it was torture having to watch episode 2 and 3 twice. I'm going to continue working on best and worst games of 2025. I guess on the bright side of things, I've actually been having fun playing Expedition 33. That's about it. See you next time, guys.